Good day, my name is Dela Imban. I'm your expert doctor. Thank you for stopping by. You're welcome to another edition of sharing trade information on Global Trade Tutor. And in this video, my focus will be on export contract. And I've started export contract for a while now. And we've discussed the subsection on period. We've talked about period like latest date of shipment, talk about period like latest date of presentation. Today, we're looking at another period called termination or expiration or expiry date of the contract. Remember, we're discussing what no one tells you about export contract or what you don't know about export contract and why export contract sometimes fails. Now, we're looking at termination. Of course, whatever has a beginning must have an end. Whatever has a beginning must have an end, right? So the termination of export contract or the expiry of export contract outline the conditions under which the contract may be terminated or deemed expired, as well as the right and obligations of the parties in such circumstances. So this section of your contract on expiry is essential for clarifying the consequences of termination or expiry, and of course, mitigating potential dispute between the exporter and the importer. So some contract we state when it expires. Some contract immediately after shipment and payment expires. Some contract, as long as the contract is still valid, if you ship and payment is made, you can still do another shipment until the expiration date of the contract. Some contract you can still ship before expiry and get paid even after the contract expires. The idea is this. Remember, it's a contract, it's an agreement. Whatever is convenient and comfortable for the parties involved is what we're talking about here. If it's convenient and comfortable for the party, then they are good to go. What should this section contain? Termination. Termination for breach. Termination for convenience. Expiration of the contract terms. Survival of obligation. Disposition of goods. Payment and compensation. Now, let's talk the first one. Termination of breach. The contract may specify that either party has the right to terminate the contract if other party breach any material terms and condition of the contract. For example, latest date of shipment. You did not ship on time. The guy can say, this contract is terminated. I give you a notice of termination. I'm no longer interested. Why? You have breached the terms of the contract. You have breached the terms. The specific ground for termination and the procedure for providing notice of breach and the termination should clearly be outlined in the contract. Should clearly be outlined in the contract. Number 2 is termination for convenience. This should also be entrenched in this particular section. The contract may include provision allowing either party to terminate the agreement for convenience upon providing advance notice. The first one is a breach. The second one is I give a notice for whatever is best known to me. I give a notice ahead. Advance notice to the party. This allows the party to terminate the contract without a cause, subject to any applicable period. So it's okay, if for any reason, whatever cost left to you, you don't want to disclose it, you are no more interested, for reason best known to you, you give me a notice ahead so that I won't have shipped and the good is in transit and you're telling me. So you need to give me enough notice ahead so I can say, okay, you cannot terminate this contract after so date. So for example, you want to terminate the contract, you must provide termination on or before a particular date. After a particular date, you want to terminate, or can say the contract runs for 12 months. If you want to provide a notice of termination, you must provide the notice on or before the 3rd month. Because after the 3rd month, I will have shipped. So you can't come back and be telling me you have terminated. The idea here is this. We must both agree on how this contract will be terminated. It can't be on forever. Now, there could be expiration of contract terms. If the contract has a fixed term, the contract can have a fixed term. 1 month, 2 months, 3 years, 5 years. The termination or expiry section should specify the consequences of expiration, including whether the contract automatically terminates on that day or it can be automatically renewed or extended. It can be automatically renewed or extended by a mutual agreement of the parties. So the idea is this. The contract is not automatically extended, automatically renewed. We must both agree if we still want to go ahead and do the shipment. We must both agree if we want to go ahead and do a renewal. That means in some contract, the contract is if I don't give a notice of termination, maybe 30 days to the expiration, some contracts are automatically renewed. And some contracts like that, they are automatically renewed. But if I don't want that, I should also state it ahead. Survival of obligation. Now, The contract should clarify which provision of the agreement will survive termination or expiry, such as confidential obligation, intellectual property right, indemnification clause, or dispute resolution mechanism. So the contract should clarify the provision of agreement that will survive termination. That means even after the termination, you must still keep our confidentiality. You must still protect our intellectual property. You must be indemnify us. So after the contract, there are still some things you can't do. Maybe for a particular period. You can't infringe on our intellectual property, for example. You cannot disclose detailed information you got to know or previous information you have as a result of our relationship. Then disposal of the goods. In the event of contract termination or expiry, the parties should agree on the disposition of any goods already produced in transit at time of termination. That's why I said you need to state in the contract if the good is any good that is in transit at the time of termination, the buyer will still be obligated to pay, provided all terms and conditions are met. So, for example, provided it was shipped on time, document was sent on time, document is free of discrepancies, document complied to all the terms agreed, I will still pay, even though the contract has ended. The contract ending means I cannot do another shipment after that date, but the shipment I've done before that date is still valid. And sometimes some contract does not have any termination, it terminates after shipment. Some contract, it only terminates after shipment and payment. That means the contract left open indefinitely unless shipment and payment has been done. The idea is this. Remember, it's an agreement. It's a contract. The buyer and seller agree to whatever they want to stand in that contract. And that is what should stand. Has this video been of help to you? Give it a thumbs up. Do you have a friend that wants to just about to sign the contract for export? Share with your friend to listen. Do you have a question for me? Please drop it in the comment section. In addition to that, if you are new to our platform, you are new to Global Trade Tutor, and you learn more about international trade, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell.